Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Newsroom. I'm your host, Omar Khalid. Today is the 4th of May 2023. These are the stories that we will be discussing in detail during the course of the show. We'll begin first of all with the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Council of Foreign Ministers meeting that is happening in Goa, for which Pakistani delegation has left for Goa and has arrived there as well, led by our Minister for Foreign Affairs, Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. The Pakistani delegation is of course attending the meeting on the invitation of the Indian Minister for External Affairs, Mr. Jai Shankar, who is currently the chair of the SCO. We all know the importance of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization. We also know the role that Pakistan has been playing, a very proactive role, and this is for the reason for which our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab is attending this very important moot. This is going to be our first story. The next story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the role of media in national development. How important is media as far as the development of any nation, of any society, of any region is concerned, vis-a-vis all the important developments, and how does a government or a nation or any society need to control a media so that disinformation or misinformation does not drift amongst the society. This is going to be our second story. Our third story, ladies and gentlemen, concerns the Chinese State Council and Foreign Minister Qin Gang, who is set to embark on a 2-day official visit to Pakistan from the 5th of May, that is tomorrow, to attend the Pakistan-China Strategic Dialogue. This has been officially announced by the Foreign Office. Also, the Afghan Interim Foreign Minister, Mr. Muttaqi, there is a possibility that he will also be attending this important meeting. This is a maiden visit of Mr. Qin Gang, and it's very important, the whole context of a lot of important visits that have been happening lately from the Pakistani side, and a lot of important conversations that also have been held between the Pakistani and the Chinese premiers. Finally, we'll be talking about the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, otherwise known as the OIC, that has on Wednesday held an important meeting in Jeddah on the request of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to look at what is happening in Sudan and how the OIC can also intervene in order to bring about a truce between the warring factions and of course bring an end to the violence that is currently rampant in Sudan. This is going to be our final story. Let's begin with our first segment, and that concerns the Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's visit to Goa in India, and this is of course to attend the SCO Council of Foreign Ministers meeting that is being held in Goa starting from today. The Pakistan delegation is attending this meeting on the invitation of the Indian Minister for External Affairs, Mr. Dr. S. Jai Shankar, who is the current chair of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization Council of Foreign Ministers. The Foreign Office has said, and I quote, that our participation in the meeting reflects Pakistan's commitment to the SCO Charter and processes and the importance that Islamabad accords to the region in its foreign policy priorities. The Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab will also be meeting with his counterparts of friendly countries on the sidelines of this important meeting. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab also tweeted before he left for Goa. He said, "On my way to Goa and India, will be leading the Pakistani delegation at the Shanghai Cooperation Organization's Council of Foreign Ministers meeting. My decision to attend the meeting illustrates Pakistan's strong commitment to the charter of the SCO. During my visit," he said, "which is focused exclusively on the SCO, I look forward to constructive discussions with my counterparts from friendly countries." Now this, of course, all of this context, there were a lot of question marks that were being also raised in the past as to the visit of the Pakistani delegation to attend the SCO Council of Foreign Ministers meeting. But there is no bilateral meeting as per the details that we have received between the Pakistani and the Indian sides. Nevertheless, there will be, this is an important move. The SCO and Pakistan has been a very proactive and an important member of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and that is the reason for which Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab, along with his delegation, have arrived in Goa in order to discuss all the issues that concern the SCO, the regional issues, including that in Afghanistan. We will be, of course, highlighting what are the important issues that are being discussed at the time. Now, there has been a clarity as far as the foreign minister during his visit not holding any bilateral meeting with his Indian counterpart. The foreign minister has also dismissed any speculation surrounding his upcoming trip. He is saying that it should not be interpreted as any sign of improved bilateral ties between Pakistan and India. He has also clarified that he has not requested for a meeting with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He has also stressed that Pakistan cannot allow to further isolate it in the context of the SCO as well. He also talked about deliberating upon important regional and international issues that will be done during the course of this important meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the SCO, and signing some of the institutional documentations. The Council of Foreign Ministers will also finalize the agenda and the decisions that will be adopted by the 17th SCO Council of Heads of State meeting that is to be taken place in New Delhi as well between the 3rd and the 4th of July this year. As I also reiterated, the Foreign Minister will also be meeting many of his other important counterparts from friendly countries on the sidelines of this meeting. Just to add to Pakistan's visit to Goa as well, India has also invited China as well as Russia and their foreign ministers along with other Central Asian countries to attend this important meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the SCO. Iran is of course the newest member of the organization, and it will for the first time be attending the SCO meeting as a full member. Hassan Tariq Butt, who is the correspondent of Pakistan Television, he's in Goa, joins us live from there. Thank you very much, Hassan, to have joined us. Hassan, what are the latest updates as far as this important meeting is concerned? What can you tell us? Who has our foreign minister met so far? How is the environment at the moot?
Yes, Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari just met his Russian counterpart Sergey Lavrov, and the meeting is currently going on at the moment. And the both sides are discussing, important issues of important international and regional issues, along with discussing avenues of bilateral avenues in how to enhancing the bilateral trade and investment between the two countries.
All right, Hassan, the importance of SCO cannot be undermined. SCO has been an important arena, an important avenue to share important details and to learn for avenues of cooperation between the member countries. How do you see this forum as a win-win situation on understandings based on connectivity, trade and mutually advantageous cooperation between all the important members of the SCO?
Yes, you very rightly said that SCO gives its member countries a very important platform through which they can remove trade barriers, enhance investment and trade, enhance industrial and agricultural cooperation between its member countries. And this particular is not this SCO meeting is also gives the same opportunity for its member states to come here and exchange ideas, identify new avenues of growth.
All right, Hassan, you told me that Bilawal Bhutto Zardari have met with Sergey Lavrov. Are there any other meetings that are about to happen with our foreign minister? Hassan, can you hear us? Hassan Tariq Butt joining us from Goa, and of course we were talking to him live and asking him different questions concerning the latest updates as far as this meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is concerned. As per Hassan Tariq Butt, what he said that our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari Sahab has met with Sergey Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister, and of course as we know that the ties between both the countries are improving, the cooperation is improving. On the 1st of May this year, both the countries celebrated 75 years of the collaboration, the cooperation between both the friendly countries, and that has been, I'm sure, reiterated in this meeting between Mr. Sergey Lavrov and Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. Hassan, any other meetings that will be held on the sidelines of the Council of Foreign Ministers meeting with our foreign minister?
Yes, there are more meetings expected today. In fact, as far as the schedule is concerned, I've been hearing that there'll be another meeting today with the chair of the SCO. However, I cannot confirm it right now at the moment. Similarly, there are 3 or maybe 4 bilateral meetings scheduled for tomorrow as well.
Hassan, when is this important mood to begin? Is it going to begin today or will it begin tomorrow? well, we are talking with Hassan Tariq, but and the connection is not is kind of fluctuating. That is why we can't sometimes hear him properly. Nevertheless, he has been joining us from Goa in India, telling us about the meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization that will be held between all the important members. India has also invited China and Russia. The Russian Foreign Minister is there, as we've just reiterated that our Foreign Minister has talked to the Russian Foreign Minister, Mr. Sergey Lavrov. Other important meetings, as Hassan Tariq but also said, are going to be held, and he said there might be a meeting between the current chair of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the SCO, but there is no confirmation as of yet. But there are other meetings also that are going to happen between our Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto Zardari and other foreign ministers. But for the moment, we don't know what the timeline is. We were about to discuss as the scheduling of this moot when we were cut as far as our conversation with Hassan Tariq but is concerned. Nevertheless, the fact remains that the SCO remains a very important moot as far as Pakistan is concerned. Pakistan, that has been an active member since the last couple of years, has used the SCO platform not only to its advantage but to the advantage of all the other important member countries of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization as well. This is an organization that is slowly and steadily gaining ground amongst the international organizations across the world, and we also know the importance that China has had as far as the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is concerned. We also know how China has played an important and pivotal role as far as bridging gaps between countries and bringing them together again, just like Kingdom of Saudi Arabia and Iran are concerned, and of course its 12-point agenda for the Ukraine-Russia rapprochement as well, that is being discussed by both the warring sides as we speak. The fact remains that the Pakistan has been playing an important role. Pakistan and India both became members of the SCO in the last couple of years, but Pakistan's role, looking at the fact that its relationship with China has been extremely strong, its relationship with Russia is gaining strength by every passing day and week, and all the other important countries like the Central Asian states as well have been important members of the SCO, and Pakistan's relationship with the Central Asian countries has also been gaining strength. The foreign minister has highlighted on different other fora, nationally and internationally as well, has been highlighting Pakistan's perspective as far as international affairs, regional affairs are concerned, and he has also highlighted the importance of Pakistan in this regional context. However, he has also clarified many a question regarding the meeting between the Indian and the Pakistani side, as he also reiterated there is no meeting that is to be held between Narendra Modi and Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. The Indian media has also been highlighting Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari's visit, although some have been optimistic, some have been cautiously optimistic as far as the visit of Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari is concerned. Nevertheless, as you can see in these visuals, Mr. Lavrov, Sergey Lavrov, the Russian Foreign Minister, met with Mr. Bilawal Bhutto Zardari. You can see them shaking their hands, and of course pictures being taken of them. There is a delegation level talk. As you can see, there are both delegations of the Pakistani side and the Russian side that are seated together, and this meeting happened just some time back. And this is important because of the fact that Pakistan and Russia both have just celebrated 75 years of diplomatic relations, because the diplomatic relations began on the 1st of May 75 years back. So this is also one tangent of relationship that both the countries are desirous to bring forth to further strengthen, and there are different avenues of cooperation that of course have been discussed between both the sides and continue to be discussed between both the sides, whether it be, and of course we also know of the oil that is going to be coming from Russia as well, as per the successful negotiations that were held recently between both the sides. This said, the fact also remains that Pakistan has been an important player as far as regional politics is concerned, but Pakistan has also not shied away from highlighting the issues as far as the Indian side of the SCO is concerned, whether it be Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir's issue or whether it be other issues. And of course, Pakistan has always reiterated that the only way that talks can be held between the Indian and the Pakistani side are when these issues, that is that of the Indian illegally occupied Jammu and Kashmir and the abrogation of Articles 370 and 35A, will be part of those discussions. We wish our Pakistan delegation all the very best, and we will of course be updated updating you as far as this meeting of the Council of Foreign Ministers of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization is concerned. It's an important mood, and of course Pakistan's participation nevertheless becomes even more important in the current regional and global scenario. Let's move over to our second story, and that concerns the role of media in national development. Media is a very important tool. It is an important tool for information, but some have been using it for disinformation as well. At the same time, not only do media organizations like ours or other important state and non-state media organizations, private media organizations play a very important role in disseminating information across the world and in Pakistan. But of late, there is also this new trend of citizen journalism that has also taken a lot of importance or has been trending thanks to all the social media platforms like YouTube, like Facebook, like Instagram and TikTok and so many others, where a lot of citizens of many other countries, including Pakistan, are also highlighting different important social and national issues and bringing forth their points of views on the social media platforms. Of course, this has been gaining momentum over the last few years, and thanks to social media, this has also become a very important platform. We will be talking to Professor Dr. Stuart Allan, Head of Department of Cardiff University in the United Kingdom, as far as what the importance of the role and importance of media and the role of the media as far as national development is concerned. But the fact remains that media is a very important pillar when it comes to any issue. Media is the pillar of society, of any nation, that brings forth and that highlights the important issues concerning any society, any country. But it's a very important rope that you have to tread along, whereas not to too much hinder towards disinformation or without fact checking, saying and disseminating information without properly confirming whether that information is true or not. We've been joined by Professor Dr. Stuart Allan, Head of Department of the Cardiff University in the United Kingdom. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Stuart Allan, to have joined us. How important is the role of media? You've met many people in Pakistan, you've met many people across the world as well. You've been giving lectures, you've written books, you've written articles on that, and you are a very ardent supporter of journalism. But isn't journalism a very important responsibility as far as any organization or any journalist is concerned, so as far as the facts and figures are concerned?
Yes, I would certainly agree with you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. Media are absolutely central to our conception of democracy. In fact, our sense of ourselves as being members of the public comes down to our sense of the media creating a public sphere, one where we recognize ourselves as citizens, but also recognize ourselves in relation to one another and what responsibilities that brings along to that role. So yes, media are absolutely central to our life in a democratic society.
All right, Professor Dr. Stuart Allan, you have been the head of school in Cardiff, and you've also preparing a book right now amongst other projects on, and you are currently on research leave, but you're visiting quite a number of countries as well. You've published widely as far as journalism, media and cultural studies as well. You've also talked about citizen witnessing, revisioning journalism in times of crisis. How important in your point of view is this new trend of citizen journalism that we see rampant on all social media platforms?
Yes, it's a term which is helpful in one sense because it highlights the ways in which ordinary people can become involved in newsmaking, and that's quite often to the advantage of the rest of us. They happen to be somewhere where a journalist isn't and are able to record and document what is happening around them and share it with the rest of us, so we have a better understanding of what's happening. But at the same time, there's lots of other aspects that are also called citizen journalism, which really are not terribly helpful and can actually impede proper journalism and reporting. So that's why I've used the notion of sort of the citizen witness to try to identify what citizens are contributing, very few of whom are actually calling themselves journalists. And I think we need to rethink the role of the journalist and what it means in that kind of social media environment, and how best journalists can tap into the interests and the expertise the enthusiasm of their fellow citizens in a manner which is responsible.
Dr. Stuart, Allan, when you talk of free speech or freedom of expression, how important is for any journalist, whether he is a citizen or a professional journalist, to take that very seriously and not to tread on either side, keep a very delicate balance between the two?
You're quite right. That's precisely the delicate balance which we try to instill in our students as they become journalists, to recognize that they are citizens within our society, as you've said, and have certain responsibilities to their fellow citizens. They have to be as accurate and as informed and as engaged in their reporting as possible to ensure that the quality of information is there that they are providing fellow citizens so that they can make informed decisions which are central to their role within our public life.
Now, British philosopher, and I have to mention a British philosopher, John Stuart Mill, underlines the importance for free speech mainly for three reasons. The first, that freedom to read or write is an important element to expose or reveal the truth. Then it is an important tool to ensure self-development and, of course, self-fulfillment of citizens, and to help ensure participation of citizens in a democracy. How important is this vision in this contemporary world where misinformation and disinformation is also rampant?
That's a very good question. John Stuart Mill placed a lot of that responsibility on our shoulders as citizens. And he said that we must never become complacent. We must never just accept truth as being self-evidently obvious and correct, but that we must always be challenging, always questioning, never taking anything for granted, but have a healthy skepticism for everything that we were told, but at the same time be proactive, be positive in our engagement with one another. And as you've highlighted there, there's a real danger that with disinformation and so much false information in circulation, that people become cynical, they become tired, they say, well, I can't tell what's truthful and what isn't. And therefore they stop caring, they disengage, they just tune out, stop following the news. And that, of course, is very dangerous for all of us. We need citizens to be interested, to take an active involvement in the society around them. And that's why we need good journalism that can help with that.
Professor Allan, when you look at journalism right now in Pakistan, in the region, across the world, we see a lot of politicization of journalism per se. Even in the United States, we see a lot of different media channels or media outlets taking sides. Is it not important for any media organization or any journalist to be practical and to be neutral when it comes to highlighting any national or international issue?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think, while it's impossible for journalists to be completely objective or impartial, it's very important that they try their best to be as close to being as impartial as they can be. And what we've seen in places like the United States, where there used to be statutory protections, they used to have a fairness doctrine which ensured a degree of balance in broadcasting, that they have lost that, and it's been to the detriment, I think, of the quality of broadcast journalism there. Fortunately, in the UK, we still have the BBC, and it does its level best to be as impartial as possible. It doesn't always succeed in those terms. It would be the first to acknowledge that sometimes mistakes are made. Journalism is always going to make mistakes and sometimes get things wrong. But what's crucial is that they acknowledge that, and they concede when they've made a mistake and are honest about their shortcomings and limitations. I think that that's all we can ask of journalists, is that when they happen to get things wrong, that they correct them.
Professor Allan, when you look at journalism across the world, how important is it for journalism to be sensitive to national issues, to issues of regional importance, and be very careful when you tread those lines? Because sometimes what a journalistic piece could do, what a report could do, it could, start a crisis in a certain society, bring strife between warring factions or different sects. Do you feel, in your point of view, that in this day and age, in the 21st century, we need to revisit the principles and the philosophy behind journalism?
Yes, I would agree with that. I think that would be very important work for every society to consider. We really have not thought through the implications of our social media environment and how it is transforming the nature of journalism. So now is just the right moment to have that kind of conversation and to involve as many interested parties into that as we can. By that I mean every stakeholder, every citizen, everyone who would like to participate in a diverse, pluralistic debate about the future of their media. I think that the timing would be perfect.
Dr. Allan, when it comes to traditional journalism versus digital journalism, which side is gaining ground?
I think we are living now in a digital-first environment. I think a lot of traditional values are being transferred into that digital environment, and some of them need a little bit of recalibration, a little bit of adjustment in light of the pressures and exigencies that are brought to bear by digital considerations. So I think that could be part of that conversation we were describing earlier, in the sense of recognizing that what counts as journalism now has really changed. And certainly young people, for example, have a very different idea of what counts as journalism than may do older generations. And it's easy, I think, to use the old familiar traditional standards and say, well, you know, today's journalism is not up to that standard. In many ways, it is just as good, it's different, and it works in a different kind of way. And I think we need to be aware of that and be as inclusive as possible in conversations about its future.
You talk of inclusivity, but at the same time, shouldn't we put broadcasting standards when it comes to digital journalism especially? And isn't it also the responsibility of social media platforms such as YouTube or Instagram or Facebook or TikTok for that matter to also put certain guidelines or rules and regulations when it comes to digital journalism and all those who upload on digital media on different issues? Because sometimes they how should I say, go beyond certain boundaries that shouldn't be crossed or shouldn't be, done in the context of any society or any nation. Do you feel that trust, that relationship needs to be built between the social media platforms and all those who upload on these platforms?
Yes, I think they have a responsibility to their users, and quite often they are quite relaxed about that and not taking into account the impact that misuse of their platform can have on other people. At the same time, with regard to their own kind of business model, it does prefigure using content that has been produced by other organizations. So a lot of news organizations see their news reporting across social media platforms, and they're not receiving any revenue for that. And as we all know, good quality journalism is expensive, and someone has to pay for it. So I think it's important that we say to the social media companies, if you want to share this content, or at least facilitate the sharing of this content, then you're going to have to contribute to the cost of producing it. And that's only fair, and that in turn will enrich the quality of journalism.
Risks, threats, and opportunities. And this is the next question that I'd like to pose to you. In this whole environment where a lot of journalistic posts, especially on digital media, are inflammatory and of course cause divide, do you feel that the future of journalism with its risks and threats and opportunities needs to be underlined by some global organization or national or regional with certain strict principles in hand? What needs to be done? How do you see the future of journalism when you look at all that is emanating from the social media platforms?
Perhaps a first step in that direction is to have the social media platforms recognize that they are publishers, that they are playing an active role in distributing content, which is something which at the moment they are refusing to recognize by and large. Although that is starting to change a little. We've seen examples in places like Australia and Canada and elsewhere where government is effectively forcing the social media companies to begin to recognize these responsibilities. There will always be people that are out of order, that are full of hate and a desire to antagonize and upset other people. Unfortunately, we'll never ever see a platform that gets rid of that altogether.
But shouldn't boundaries be set,
of
even though you're not optimistic about the future of boundaries being set, shouldn't those boundaries be put forward from the very go, so that people understand before uploading on any social media platform or any platform thereof, that they need to abide by certain rules and regulations and stick to facts and figures?
Yes, I think that in principle is absolutely necessary.
True.
And that it's incumbent upon the social media platforms to ensure that people are aware of what those responsibilities are. At the same time, though, I would recognize that we need to ensure that those parameters are as wide as is reasonably possible. So long as violence is not being incited, so long as there's no hate or desire to hurt anyone else, I think we need to try to be as adaptable and as flexible as we can reasonably be to ensure that we have a sufficiently diverse debate across these platforms. Because it's
Dr. Allan, yes. Dr. Allan, you speak about, you use the word hate. Now, hate, although being a strong word, is a word that is used in different contexts nowadays very rampantly and distributed, with on all the different platforms, and is lapped up by the audience on different social media platforms. Why is that so? Are people so in need of watching hateful content that such content gains publicity?
That's a very good question, and I really don't have the answer, I'm afraid. I think what we can do is recognize that it is there. It's probably always been there, but in the past there wasn't the opportunity for people to use media in the way that they do today. I think we need to better understand what motivates such people to contribute in that manner, and what their motivations are, what their frustrations and anger and resentment resides, and try to address those kinds of concerns. Because clearly, for a lot of people, they are using these platforms just to, share with the world how angry and upset that they are, and that in turn, I suppose, is almost therapeutic in one sense. But where that begins to harm someone else, then it's unacceptable, and we have to, as you say, ensure we have adequate standards there to protect people, especially those who are vulnerable, from this kind of abuse.
Dr. Allan, how free should free speech be in your point of view, as somebody who understands the different, different modalities around journalism? And in your point of view, without a free press, can democracy or free economy thrive?
I think the press needs to be as free as is responsibly possible. I think we need to look at government and its relationship to the media and ensure that the media are independent and have a degree of autonomy, a sufficient degree of autonomy from government management and control. I think we need to look at the ownership of the media and ensure that ownership relationships are sufficiently diverse so that we have a range of different types of media within our society. And certainly in the UK, we have media which is overwhelmingly commercial and is concentrated into a very small number of companies. And I don't think that that's healthy for our democracy. I think we need to consider other ways in which we can support our media through other kinds of subsidies, through other ways of patronage and so forth, so as to enrich a range of different types of media, so that people in turn can feel that their views are finding expression and that they feel that they are included in the national conversation.
How can we strengthen the fourth pillar, that is of the state, in developing countries such as Pakistan, where the perspective of any national or international issue is extremely important for the society and for nation building?
Yes, I think that recognizes the centrality of the media, not only in terms of sharing information that people need in order to make informed decisions for themselves, but also the extent to which the media help to create that very sense of a nation, create that sense of that kind of public of which people are active citizens within. And that places that responsibility front and center. But it's a lot to ask the media to bear all of these responsibilities themselves. A lot of journalists would simply say, hey, it's my job to report the news. You can't ask me to do all of these other kind of social factors as well. And that's why we have to look to the education system. We need to look at all the other groups within society and see how they can contribute to media literacy, to equipping people with the means to use the media more effectively and in a manner consistent with their citizenship.
When you talk of media literacy, and that's a very important point that you've raised, isn't it important to make Pakistani journalists, Indian journalists, other journalists in developing countries more media literate in order for them to ascertain what is the need of the hour, what needs to be highlighted and what does not need to be highlighted in order for proper nation building and development?
Yes, I think that's true. I wish we could somehow slow journalism down. We could give everyone, not least the journalists, more time to pursue stories in depth, to think, to read, to consider alternative points of view, to really enrich the quality of their own reporting. I think almost every journalist would like to have the luxury of more time and more resources to better inform their journalism. And yet they find themselves under considerable pressure to produce stories very quickly, stories which kind of catch the public's eye, that the public is perhaps interested in. But that takes us into the realm of infotainment, takes us into types of stories which are not the kinds of stories we've been talking about with regard to the importance of journalism for our democracy. So it needs to be a mix. We always need to have stories which will engage people and enthuse them about different kinds of issues and so forth. I wouldn't want journalism just to become a lecture where we're constantly telling people what they should think, but instead creating a space where they in turn recognize a range of different views, different opinions, and are encouraged to make up their own mind.
But this balance of opinions, of points of view, shouldn't that also be very important for any journalist, whether it be myself, yourself, or any other, on any important media, whether it be in the United Kingdom, the US, or even in Pakistan or India? That said, I'm going to reiterate it again. With freedom comes responsibility as well. We see a lot of channels that have a lot of viewership. We see a lot of journalists across the world who have a lot of viewership. How important is their role as well to be more responsible while disseminating information?
Yes, I think that in addition to the kind of traditional values we might talk about, the one that quite often gets left behind is the issue of fairness. And I think people are concerned with balance. They would say, well, I quoted this person who says one thing, I quoted this person who says the exact opposite. So my job is done. I've created, every story has two sides, and I presented two conflicting sides, so the job is finished. And instead we say, well, actually, we need to put these different views in a broader context. We need to interpret and to explain them. And we need to handle them in a manner which is seen to be fair and consistent with our democratic values, and recognize those voices which have been marginalized and trivialized and quite often not taken seriously, sometimes even silenced, and recognize that journalists are in danger of reproducing those very barriers, that it can be very exclusionary as to the types of voices which are not heard, and that in the interest of fairness, we need to widen and open up this conversation.
The World Press Freedom Day, Dr. Allan, was recently observed across the world, and herein also our Prime Minister tweeted paying tributes to journalists across the world, particularly those in our country, that is Pakistan, for the commendable work they are doing to inform and educate the people. How important is information and education at the same time? I'm putting this in context with the thin line that is slowly disappearing between information and infotainment.
Yes, that's very true. The kind of commercial pressures on information render it into infotainment very quickly, where stories become clickbait, where good journalism is defined not on the basis of quality, but on the basis of how many eyeballs can it attract to a news story on a website. And we know what kind of journalism, by and large, scores those kinds of numbers. Again, a little bit of that now and then. Probably all of us are interested in some of those stories to some extent. But we need to ensure that we don't lose sight of what journalism is really about, and that is keeping us informed as active citizens.
And finally, Professor Dr. Allan, if you had to, summarize different concepts that need to be given to upcoming journalists or to refined and senior journalists as well. What are the 2 or 3 important notes or pointers that you'd like to give them across the world?
I think that journalists have to recognize that they are part of the power structure within society, and that they have to use that power on behalf of their readers and their listeners and their viewers. That they can mobilize public attention, they can focus public attention on certain pressing issues, and or they can ignore other ones which they should be attending to. So it's just not, sufficient to say, well, I just reflect the news. I don't make, I don't make the news. I don't. In effect, the world is reflected through our lens all by itself. Instead, it's recognizing that no, journalists are mediators of that world. They are the ones who are not necessarily telling us what to think, but they are encouraging us to think about certain things and not other things.
But that thinking, Dr. Allan, needs to be more constructive rather than destructive. This is the whole essence of what I'm trying to understand from you as well. You who have been educating and teaching so many upcoming and senior journalists across the world as well. Thank you so very much, Professor Dr. Stuart Allan, Head of Department, Cardiff University, United Kingdom. We wish you all the very best. I hope sometime later you will be in the studios talking to us about the future of journalism in the near future as well. Thank you so very much, sir, to have joined us. Let's come to our last 2 stories. The first concerns the Chinese Foreign Minister's 2-day official visit to Pakistan that is beginning from tomorrow. That has been confirmed by the Foreign Office as well. This is going to be his first official visit to Pakistan since he has assumed office. Foreign Minister Bilawal Bhutto and his Chinese counterpart are going to chair the 4th round of the Pakistan-China strategic dialogue. This dialogue is a structural mechanism. It reviews bilateral cooperation in key areas in which both the sides are going to reaffirm the abiding vitality of the all-weather strategic cooperative partnership that both countries have, develop a roadmap for multi-dimensional cooperation between Pakistan and China, and discuss the evolving regional and global landscape, of course, Afghanistan included. The 3rd round of the Pakistan-China strategic dialogue had taken place in July 2021 in Chengdu in China. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, the OIC has called for a ceasefire in Sudan. This was done during an emergency meeting that was held of the OIC in Riyadh to discuss the developments in Sudan following an escalation as far as the military clashes that have killed and injured hundreds of civilians. The OIC has affirmed the need to resolve conflicts through peaceful means, to call for solidarity in Sudan, and to affirm support for the Sudanese people. This has also been confirmed by the Saudi press agency. The OIC Secretary General has also said that he will do all his level best to stop the fighting, advance a peaceful path, and provide a necessary humanitarian assistance, including the possibility of sending a high-level delegation to Sudan at the appropriate time. This is a very important development. It's very important for the OIC to sit down and evolve a mechanism in order to bring about a truce and an end to this escalation of violence that is slowly and steadily engulfing Sudan. We'll be bringing you more updates as and when we get more on this very issue. With that, we come to an end of today's newsroom. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow with new stories that pertain to us, you and Pakistan. Stay safe. Allah Hafiz.